This is Women in Music with Gfire podcast, episode number 39 with singer-songwriter Heather Miller. Well, cool. I'm glad we can make this happen this afternoon.
Same, yay.
Yay. Austin gals in the house, so.
Right?
Well, let's just start off with the usual podcast questions, shall we? Where are you from originally?
Yeah, so I was born in California, but I grew up in Iowa from the age of 5 until I moved to Austin. I moved to Austin actually twice. Okay. I moved to Austin for a year in 2011 and worked with a wonderful mentor, Daniel Barrett, and made a EP with him. He was my producer. And then I went back to Iowa for a few years, and then I moved back to Austin in 2015, and I've been here ever since.
Okay, so 6-7 years now on this on this round of Austin.
Yeah.
And what drew you here? Just the scene, the singer-songwriters?
The music, yeah, the singer-songwriters, exactly. In Iowa, I had a radio show.
Oh, wow.
So I can turn off my phone. I wanted it on for a second in case you were going to call me, but now it's off. So yeah, I had a radio show in Iowa, and it was at a little community station called KRUU, and it was solar powered and really fun station, just very eclectic. Everybody from the community had different random shows, but mine was focusing on female singer-songwriters. And I started looking for people on MySpace back in the day.
Right, I remember that, of course.
And one of the people I found was Jenna Pokop.
Of course, who just released her album.
Yes, her amazing album, The Astronaut. And yeah, so we just became friends through that. And then I was just kind of following her journey here in Austin. And when she started working with Daniel Barrett, I was like, ooh, that looks like a thing that I really want to do to move my music forward is to work with him, and figured out how to make it work. He was offering this sort of year-long program. I'm like, oh, I could do that for like a year. It's kind of like going to grad school, you know, and then I'll go back home. But that really, I got the bug.
Right. And so, you went back and did your radio show in Iowa for a while?
Mm-hmm.
That does sound awesome.
Yeah, it was a sweet station. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was a really beautiful thing while it did. And the funny thing, too, is it was 100.1. And when I was driving into Austin, the Austin station that's at 100.1 is also a solar-powered radio station. It was sort of like, I guess I hadn't changed my radio dial because I was listening to CDs and stuff during the road trip. And then the first time I turned on the radio in Austin, I was like, what just happened?
Did my station morph into Austin's Sun
right?
radio? So,
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's just a wacky music coincidence, which happens.
Right?
Those things happen all the time. So
yeah,
we should just say that's pretty cool.
Right. It's a great thing. I took it as a good sign.
Well, good. Yeah. And do you live in South Austin, North Austin?
More north, actually. I started in South Austin and then ended up in Windsor Park area. It's a little bit north of Mueller.
That's where I live.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I'm in Windsor Park, so we're actually neighbors.
Actual neighbors. Didn't know that. Cool.
Well, if we ever do this again and there's no pandemic, then you can come over and play live, which I do miss. I miss having people come over and play live, but I'm not having people sing here.
That's smart. It's not time yet. Not time yet.
Just not time yet, yeah. Okay. All right. What drew you into being a singer-songwriter? When did you start, and what's your kind of journey?
Yeah, I think, well, a couple things. One is my dad was a huge fan of the Beatles and Donovan and Pete Seeger, and so he was always playing a guitar at home when I was growing up, and we'd dance around and stuff like that. So that kind of, I knew that people played guitars in their homes. And then when I was in college, one of my friends was going like on a little travel abroad thing, and she left her guitar and a book of easy Beatles songs with me while she was gone. And I knew what the songs were supposed to sound like because I grew up with my dad listening to them, and how where you put your fingers on it. So I just taught myself songs through that. And then also somewhere around that similar time, a little coffee shop opened up in my hometown, and the man who opened it, Steve Giacomini, he came from the Berkeley scene in California, where there's all the coffee shops, and he really wanted to create that sense of community and deep thinking and art. And so he opened up this coffee shop in the middle of Iowa and started bringing musicians through. And that was when something clicked, and I'm like, oh, like, you don't have to be like, Madonna or someone huge on this stage. It's like there's people that are doing this, touring through. And so that really lit a spark in me too, to just see all these cool artists coming through and just playing on that little stage.
Right. And when did you first write your first original song?
My first song, that would be towards the end of college. I was, one of my jobs at the time was I was a janitor for the dorms. And I started writing this song, and I would sing it to myself while I was vacuuming, because then nobody could hear me, but I could get it memorized. And that was actually before I started playing guitar. So sort of shortly after that was when I picked up my friend's guitar. And that moment when I figured out the chords that could go underneath the melody that I'd already written was like, oh.
Right. It's so exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. And I think that's also around the same time that I'd been going to college for theater, mostly theater and English. And I switched that last year into a music minor instead of an English minor. So I got a little bit of it right at the end there.
Well, it doesn't hurt to have a little theory and, whatever you guys studied. I know what we studied at University of Maryland, but, pretty standard theory. And then you got to take piano, and you got to do your juries and stuff like that. I don't know if you did any of that stuff.
We had an interesting, so I guess I haven't said this yet. So the reason why I lived in Fairfield, my parents were part of the Transcendental Meditation community.
Okay.
And that was in Fairfield, Iowa. That's why we had moved there. And so I got sort of half Western music theory and half Eastern Indian music.
Oh, wow.
So not that I could probably recall any of it now, but we spent a lot of times where we kind of like spend our mornings singing these Indian ragas with these Gandharva Veda musicians. And then the afternoon we'd, learn piano and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting combination of stuff.
That's crazy. In the middle of Iowa, you think, I don't know, I think Republicans and maybe some country music and a lot of beer or something. I don't know. I don't think, wow, transcendental meditation, and we're going to sing Indian ragas. I mean, that's just so interesting.
Yeah, it is a pretty fascinating little town. There's definitely, the whole, it was an interesting mix of people.
Do you still go back there and do shows?
I haven't in a few years,
of course,
but I'd love to. Yeah, and actually I think it was the year before the pandemic, I had planned to go back and do a show, and I got home and I just got sick, so we had to cancel it, which was a bummer. But
some other time.
Some other time. No, I would love to, for sure.
Okay, career highlights. Any highlights you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I'm still so proud of, and it was a while ago now, but I'm proud of it. That first year I came to Austin and I was working with my mentor, and one of the things he said to me early on working together was like, you just need more performance experience. So like go out and do as many open mics as you possibly can. And I don't know if he actually expected me to do this, but I ended up doing 157 open mics in my year that I lived in Austin the first time.
You took it to heart.
I did. I took it to heart. I mean, and also like, the things I kind of like the caveats I say is like, I wasn't really working. Like I was taking this year of like school. So it kind of was my job, was going to open mics.
Right.
In a way. But and also I was doing it without a car, because one of the things I sold my car to help do the program. And so I was taking a lot of buses and also making friends that I could get rides with. And and sometimes it wasn't like I went to one every night. Sometimes I go like a couple in one night and then take a couple of days off or whatever. But yeah, I learned a lot. I met a lot of people that are still my friends today, But yeah, that first night, I thought I was probably gonna throw up or die or something, But
of course, your first time singing.
First time, yeah. It wasn't my first time singing like publicly, but it was my first time in Austin, where sort of like you grow up in your little cocoon at home, and everybody it's kind of like playing for your mom, like she's gonna tell you you're great, It's
of
like,
course.
But it's just like first time in the big city. But yeah, I mean, it didn't go great the first time. I did make a lot of mistakes, but people were so kind and generous and encouraging. And probably about like maybe the third or fourth open mic, I was like, oh, wait, I got this. Like, I can do this, and then just kind of kept going from there. So I'm just really proud that I did that and just really committed to learning and growing as an artist. And it really did shift a whole lot. At just settling into who I am. So that was a big one. And then also releasing my first EP, Anchor.
Which was in 2011?
2012 was when that one came out.
2012? Okay, okay. Have you released anything since then?
Yeah, so then in 2019, I released a Christmas EP. I made that with Katie Murray. I don't know if you know her, but she's an amazing musician in Austin. She plays almost everything and has played with a lot of bands in town, but then in the pandemic has moved even more into her producing, which she had done a lot of before as well too. But so we did a little Christmas EP, and then I also released a single that I did with her in 2020. That's the one I shared that we'll play later.
Single you said, okay, great. And that was released in 2020. Mm-hmm. And how do you go about releasing a single in the middle of a pandemic?
I mean, I just kind of did it. Part of why I wanted to is I just really believed in the message of the song, and I wanted it to get out sooner than later. I'm intending it to be part of a bigger project that we're working on, that we are recording, she helped me pick out this mic, and we were recording parts and sending them back and forth and stuff like that. So it's been slow going, but that's coming. But anyways, I was just like, that song needs to get out. So yeah, I mean, I put it out on Bandcamp and on all the streaming services. And
how did you put it out? Do you sign up with like CD Baby, or they've got, what's it, DistroKid?
DistroKid.
DistroKid, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there's TuneCore, I think. Which service have you been using?
I use DistroKid for You're Not Alone. I have used CD Baby as well, and there's sort of pluses and minuses to both services, I think. I like both of them. But yeah, you just send it into them, and then they just shoot it out to all the other places. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm curious what's working now.
Right.
This is a new sort of paradigm that we're working with.
It's a whole new world, and I think it also depends on what your goals are for releasing music. It's like, are you trying to chart? Are you trying to make money? Are you trying to reach people? Like, and sometimes those are all intersecting. But for me, especially for the single, it was really a heart-based decision that I just, the song's called You're Not Alone. Everybody, it was, early in the pandemic when everybody was like really isolated and just feeling like, I really want to make sure that people get this message. So it was important to me to like just put it out there. I wasn't too worried about sales or charting or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure that it could be shared.
Well, I guess that's a good point for us to listen to it now.
Yeah.
See salt water slipping from your eyes. I know the empty hollow in your bones. Your stomach is home to 100 butterflies, and your chest is a cage full of stone. Today your bed's a prison, or maybe it's your mind. But everything seems useless, like you're running out of time. So if you can't find the stars, listen for the sound of my take my hand. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You're not alone. Well, I've swum the underwater void, black and cold, and I felt the devil's laughter grip my heart. I've been shaken so hard by the lies I was told. I thought that I might fall apart. And I've weathered the winters that never seemed to end. Felt the world on my shoulders and didn't break but bend. So if you can't find the stars, listen for the sound of my voice. I will sing you home. If you can't feel the ground beneath your feet, take my hand. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You're not alone. Well, I've seen the clearest lakes from the peak of a mountain. Felt the sun on my face as I tossed coins in a fountain. I've held a baby newly born, and I've grown food from seed. Joined voices with a choir, taking care of those in need. So if you can't find the stars, listen for the sound of my voice. I will sing you home. If you can't feel the ground beneath your feet, take my hand. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You're not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You're not alone.
Oh, that's really pretty.
Thank you so much. There's also a great YouTube video. Jana, actually, my friend Jana, made a lyric video for me for that one.
Oh, really?
So,
I'll have to check that out as well.
Yeah.
Just on YouTube, just look up You Are Not Alone, Heather Miller.
Yeah. Definitely need a name on there because You Are Not Alone is actually a common song name. But,
yeah. I'm thinking, there's probably a couple others.
At least a couple, but it just shows that it's a universal theme.
Right. And how did you happen to write that song? Did the idea come to you words, or were you playing on the guitar? How did you go about that?
Yeah, so I've been in a lot of songwriting groups.
Okay.
Where the idea is to write a song a week for. Sometimes they'll say do it for a year or for these 12 weeks or something like that. And the whole thing too of you write a song a week. They give out a prompt usually. It'll be a few words, or sometimes some groups I've been in will give a picture or something like that. But they'll give out a little prompt that, and again, depending on the group, you either have to use it use the words exactly, or sometimes it's just an inspiration. And there's pluses and minuses to both both versions of things. But yeah, so this was from a songwriting group, and I would say probably 95% of the time, my writing comes from lyrics first.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll tend to sit down and write some, lyrics and poetry, and then come to the music afterwards. And this is one too that actually I sat with for a while, and I ended up bringing it to. There's a beautiful songwriting retreat called Crooked Crow. My friend Johan Wagner runs out in the West Texas desert. That is so wonderful because there's no cell service. There is a landline for emergencies,
but you're totally cut off
from everything. It's wonderful, and just the beautiful environment. You can see the mountains of Mexico from the hot springs, and so it was in that space that I was able to finish the song and really bring it to its final place. And
how long was the retreat for?
Oh, it's a little less than a week. I think it's Wednesday through Sunday.
And I guess you have to pay.
Yeah, you pay something, but I mean it's so wonderful. They feed you 3 meals a day.
Okay.
And And there's this lithium fed hot springs and lots a wonderful balance of both writing exercises and space to just go create.
Right.
And there's swim and relax,
No contact with any sort of social media, nothing. It's just you, your guitar, and nature.
Yeah, exactly. Someone was saying it's sort of like the closest you get to getting to be like a pet, because it's like you get fed and you get to do what you want. It's just sort of like, yep, I get to go be a cat for like 4 days in the desert.
Wow, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah, it feels accurate.
Are they still doing it with the pandemic?
They skipped a year and then they did it last year, just, requesting that everybody be vaccinated or test or whatever, and it's mostly outside too. There's a few cabins, but there's also camping, and then the kind of open air patios and stuff like that. So it felt pretty safe, and it's limited. There's only about 30 people that can go. So he does it by lottery, names out of a hat.
Okay. Wow. Mm-hmm. It sounds fun.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
I wish everybody, if not that exact experience, I wish that every creative person would get a chance to do that type of retreat where your basic needs are taken care of and you just have that time and space to create and just sink into what you need to tap in the well,
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is your Patreon.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like everything's changed, I'm like, well, maybe I should look at Patreon. I've talked to Betty Sue, and now I'm talking to you about it. And I'm curious, and I'm sure that my listeners are curious too. How do you go about that?
Yeah. Well, I love Patreon so much. I've been a patron of other musicians for a while before I started mine. And real honestly, I actually started a page for myself, and then it took me a whole year to finally press go on it because I just had my own, doubts and anxieties and questioning about it. But really, it's a beautiful way to connect with your people, without any algorithms or ads or noise in between, and you can really create it to be what you want it to be. Some people give a lot of stuff, like, a song every week. Some people do it once a month. Some people it's very, polished and produced and shiny. And some people it's like, this is straight from my cell phone. Like, this is super behind the scenes, So it really depends on what you are creating and what kind of experience you're wanting to give to people. And then just being clear about that, I think, communicating this is what to expect. And then the people who are drawn to that are the ones that are going to want to participate. But yeah, it's been a wonderful thing to sort of keep me accountable to creating stuff, kind of knowing like, oh, there's people there waiting for that song,
And how did you find the people that you knew would be game for it? You just ask people, you're just like, hey, I'm doing this thing.
A lot of it, honestly, starting out for me really is friends and family. I think my mom was my first patron, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, can you just get, like my sister or somebody, start like that?
Oh, yeah. I think just having a few people, to start out with that are your, supporters anyways.
Right.
Is a good place to start. It's not going
to be a big deal. Like, of course, I will do this for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then, I don't know, there's lots of different ways to try and gain more followers and more patrons. But with me, one of the things I just sort of do is every time I make a post on Patreon, I also post about it on my social media stuff. Sort of like, oh, hey, I just...
Like Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just like, oh, hey, I just posted up a song about... toast. I'm making this up right now, but for my patrons. And if you want to hear it, join us,
Right. Join my Patreon, and then you get to hear all these bonus songs. Mm-hmm. And your output, what did you choose for your output? Are you doing how many times a month? And are you doing the cell phone or the polished? What did you decide?
It's a combination. For the most part, it is like the cell phone thing. It's definitely like behind the scenes. For a while when I started out, I was doing it as it was a charge per song. So every song that I put up, somebody, and I would never do more than 4 a month, but I was pretty consistent about 4 a month. And then last year, actually, I did switch it over to just charge per month to kind of open up my options for what I felt like I could share. So yeah, and that, but also the other thing is like my patrons, like they're the first to get the studio stuff, right. And so like they do get the polished stuff, but they get it first,
Right. Before anybody else gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then some of the behind the scenes stuff, like the cell phone stuff, like they're the only ones that I'm going to share it with because it's just like it's too vulnerable.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I don't just like I'm only giving them trash. Like that's not at all. It's like it's just really intimate, and it's not something that I'm ready for the whole world to see. But I trust this group of people because they are, committed enough to me that they want to put $1 or 10 or whatever 20 down a month, that they care about what I'm doing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm definitely trying to learn as much as I can about it. So, because I don't know about you, but my streaming checks kind of tiny. Yeah, lots and lots of streams. Like I think 1,000 spins will get me $10 or something. It's just
if
nuts.
That. Yeah, it's kind of wild. I kind of right now. I mean, I don't know, probably every 2 to 4 times a year we'll kind of get a nice surprise deposit of like $25 in my account. It's like, cool, that was nice, but I wasn't counting on it.
Right, exactly. It's like, okay, I can go have dinner out tonight.
Yeah, which is totally fun.
Something, just extra spending money.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is important. What's your website?
Oh yeah, it's heathermillermusic.com.
Okay. millermusic.com. That's pretty easy.
Yep.
Especially since I'm gfirepodcast.com.
Nice.
And on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram?
So on Instagram and Twitter, my handle is Hum Songs, HUM Songs.
Okay.
And then on Facebook, it's also Heather Miller Music. So Facebook/Heather Miller Music.
/Heather Miller Music, yada yada. Okay.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Heather Millers out there, so sometimes I had to do that Hum Songs thing instead.
Right, exactly. What do you think about the whole quality of the streaming? That's something I don't ask everybody, and you don't have to answer that. I can cut this part out, but it bugs me because I used to be a rave DJ, and I've got stacks and stacks of vinyl still, and trying to listen to just MP3s all the time is really irritating to me. I think some people are just used to it and like, all right, this is as good as it gets, but I'm not. So I do ask people like, well, does that matter to you?
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, as a personal listener, like I'm not as trained as an audiophile to like really grok that. Okay. I understand the concept absolutely, and I do think it's important to have the full range of offerings, because some people don't care and some people do, and so I really like Bandcamp for that.
Because you can put up a true wave file.
Yeah, you have a true wave file, and then the audience, the people who are wanting to buy it can choose which style of file they want to download when they're downloading.
Okay, and then how does Bandcamp work? Does it cost money to put your songs up there?
It doesn't cost any money to put the songs up there. They do take a small percentage when you sell. But the other thing there's also a small percentage if that's like from, I can't remember if it's like PayPal or whatever, like whatever the PayPal fee is.
Right. Like 3% probably.
Yeah, it's small, but sort of like it's worth it, I think, to have it just be on a site that, is reliable and has a bunch of other people using it.
Can you put an unlimited amount of songs up on Bandcamp, or do they limit you?
I don't think they limit. I haven't heard of any limits. They just, you can put up whatever you want, and they just charge. When you make sales, I think they kind of like every $15, and they'll take their little percentage out.
Right.
But something that's really cool they've been doing in the pandemic, and they're doing at least for the first half of this year, is they have Bandcamp Fridays.
I know, I've heard of that, yeah.
So that's where they waive their fee. You still have to pay the PayPal fee, but you get all the rest of the money as an artist. So like if you kind of can plan your releases or like around those Fridays, or just to push your stuff on that Friday and make a little more money.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea. I like that too.
Yeah, really generous of them too, and that they just have kept it going for a couple of years now.
Well, do you have any, I don't know, cool stories, road stories, or anything else that might be fun? Oh, I always ask, are any cautionary tales or just fun stories? Just, little bite-sized.
Gosh. Well, I guess one kind of fun story, and then maybe also another more general thing. So on one of my, it's one of my favorite stories, is one of my open mics that I was performing at. It was 157, and I was playing at some, pub that had the big TVs and everything, and I did my little song, and like wild applause erupted. I'm like, whoa, that one went over really well, and I realized that they just scored a goal over my head. Nobody cared about my little song.
Oh,
so but
be careful when there's football in the house. I suppose.
Yeah, you just never know. But I think sort of to me, like the biggest cautionary tale is just sort of like on a bigger sort of pulled back basis is just to like do your best not to get caught up in comparison thinking, because that'll just spiral you down into a bad place real quick.
like looking at somebody who's made it, I guess, and comparing yourself to Taylor Swift. Why Taylor Swift is my age or whatever, and she's done all this stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think to me, like the biggest time when I kind of realized that little comparison mind was jumping in was, and sort of how ridiculous it is, was the day that I was watching a Lady Gaga music video. Right. And she was dancing. I mean, I love her, and she was dancing, and I was like, I can't dance like that. I will never be. And I was like, Heather, like, stop. Like, you're not supposed to. She's filling the Gaga space. Like, the Gaga space is filled. Like, you don't even need to try. Like, fill your own space. But, and it was easy to make that realization with somebody that was so contrasting to me. It's a little harder when it's somebody else, like in the same town and the same age, playing at the same venues. It can kind of be like, oh God. Or like another time I was playing, this is back in Iowa, I was playing In the Round with a few guys, and we had driven up together, and in the car on the way there, we talked about like more of our heart-based music missions and how important that is to like know what that is. And, mine is really connection. That's the most important thing to me, is connecting with other people. And so we'd had that conversation freshly, did the show. They're all dudes that can do really fancy stuff with their guitar work, and I was starting to have the little spiral go in, and like, ooh, and they were getting a lot of attention from people after the show. And I was starting to slide a little bit into this, like, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. Why did I do this? And I noticed somebody standing kind of quietly, just waiting. And I was like, my purpose is connection. Maybe this person wants to connect. He and I had this great conversation. He was very complimentary, very sweet. I asked him, do you play music too? He's like, oh yeah, I play this. And I kind of like, I can't remember, but it was something really cool combination. Like, oh, I'm kind of like a mix of like the Gorillaz and Ani DeFranco. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, I want to hear what that sounds like. Like, what is that? And he ended up buying a CD,
Aww.
And if I had gone into my little spiral and just kind of packed up and sulked, I wouldn't have sold that CD,
Or had the nice conversation.
Exactly, which the conversation was the more important part, really, honestly. But, so that's sort of my cautionary tale, is to do whatever sort of mental work. It's an ongoing process, I think, for your whole life to stay as much as possible in that space of what is your sort of sole purpose with your music, because that's where the success of both connections and financially, I think, at the same time can come in.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I love that. All right. Anything you want to add?
Gosh, just check my little notes.
Now, this will probably come out in like 3 months if I know me.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I did just want to point out, was that one thing I am also proud of is that all of my album art is women artists.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned Nicole Wagner took that picture.
Oh yeah, Nicole took the promo picture.
And is she a professional photographer, or is she just...
That was just a friend excursion. We went to a place that had a lot of fun backdrops and took pictures. She has done photography professionally in the past, and I'm not sure where she stands on, taking jobs right now with that, because she's doing a lot of other things. But yeah, women artists, and then also just the artwork for the albums itself has been. Did
you print out a bunch of CDs for the single, or
not for the single? I printed out CDs for the EP Anchor, the first one, and then the rest of the stuff so far has only been digitally. I'll probably do a small run of CDs when I get the album, but so far, yeah. But just because when you're on all the digital websites, there's art. And so to be able to feature, you gotta
make sure that you have something. And
yeah,
I guess I didn't look it up. What artwork did you use? Did somebody?
So for You Not Alone, for the single, Vanessa Lively did this beautiful abstract painting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And I didn't even mention I have also a live album that I recorded some songs on Co-op radio with Rush.
Okay.
Rush Evans, and so I got those songs mastered and put out as a live album, and I had Lindsay Verrill did a really sweet art block print for that artwork, and my friend Alicia did the art for Anchor, and my friend Paige Berry did, who's also an awesome musician.
I interviewed Paige.
Oh, perfect. So she did the artwork for my Christmas EP, and she also did the artwork for my t-shirts too. So yeah, I just like being able to support other women artists in doing my releases.
Well, this fits in with our theme quite well here at the podcast.
Perfect.
Oh, ladies, that sounds great. Well, it's been a pleasure hanging out.
Oh my gosh,
virtually.
Thank you so much. So fun.
And when it gets out in a couple of months, I'll let you know, and you can spread the word amongst your fans, family, Patreons,
absolutely,
etc. And
oh my gosh, I'm excited.
Yeah, cool. Well, everybody go to heathermillermusic.com for all the latest on Heather Miller, and hope I'll see you live and in person one of these days.
One of these days. We live in the same neighborhood. That's amazing.
I know. We could even go to the same HEB, all masked.
Right?
All right. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.